Hey, didn't I kill you in the last episode?
No, sir, I do not believe so.
I'm pretty sure I did. I'm pretty sure I shot you through the body until you were dead.
Previously on Checkmate Lincolnites.
No, that must have been some other Confederate officer.
Is that a blood-stained uniform lying at your feet?
Checkmate, Lincolnites! The program where we stoutly defend the South against those who would besmirch her. Like the brave boys at Fredericksburg, we shall stand for...
Fredericksburg! Oh, sorry. Too soon, I guess.
Sir, I have invited you here because you have called the excellent film Gods and Generals a piece of propaganda.
It is propaganda.
No, it's not, and I say that as a Latino. It's just like Gettysburg. It doesn't have bias approach. It's respectful to both sides. So do us a favor and shut up.
Come on, man, you're making this so easy. Give me some of the challenging comments, you know? Bring out the big guns. It's okay, I can take it.
It's funny when snot-nosed, green behind the ear, force-fed warm bullshit college boys such as yourself just regurgitate all the totally false narratives you learn. You, sir, are a syphilis-infested crotch goblin and deserve to be eaten alive by pygmy ants. God save the South!
Man, you know what? That's actually completely true.
Gods and Generals is a historically accurate film. You're just angry because it isn't a communist, leftist, anti-Southern propaganda film. You leftist scum try to rewrite history to fit into your anti-American narrative.
So criticizing the Confederacy is anti-American?
Yes.
Okay, well, my question that I have for you, sir, is what planet are you living on? Gods and Generals isn't just historically inaccurate and horribly offensive, it also does a terrible job of simply representing humanity. Nobody could be that perfect and flawless and pious and awesome all of the time. You know what movie I want to see? I want to see a movie that has a scene where Stonewall Jackson sits on the toilet and takes a huge crap. That's humanity.
How dare you speak of the general releasing his bowels? This perspective is so biased. Yes, slavery was in the mix, but South really complex. And not ever Southern Reb fought for slavery. Hell, even Confederate generals were against the practice. So do a big homeworks on it.
That's a lie. Most Confederate generals absolutely approved of slavery, and your average Confederate soldier knowingly fought to preserve it.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
No, they did
Yes,
not.
they did.
No,
Yes,
they
they
did
did.
not.
Yes,
They
they
did
did.
not.
Yes,
They
they
did
did.
not, sir.
Yes, they
No,
did.
no,
Yes, they
no.
did.
They
Yes, they
did
did.
not,
Yes,
sir.
they did.
They
Yes, they
did
did.
not,
Yes, they
sir.
did. Yes,
No,
they did. Yes, they did.
no,
Yes, they did.
no. Can't agree with YouTube videos calling the South then all evil. I can't see why anyone would pick up a rifle to defend the high-class society ownership of slaves. That don't make no sense. The so-called Lost Cause agenda, however, does.
That's just it. You can't comprehend, as a 21st century person, from your point of view, why someone would take up arms and knowingly defend slavery. And yet, that is exactly what Confederate soldiers did. To understand why, you've got to just let go of the benefit of hindsight for a second and look at the politics of the 1860s from the Southern point of view.
I don't give a rat's ass about them rich Southern politicians whose aims were to preserve slavery. They should have been hanged. But the common soldier didn't give a shit about slaves or slavery. They were too poor.
Yeah, here's the thing, and I know you're not going to want to hear this, but they did give a shit. Multiple books have been written about this topic. Yeah, Confederate soldiers went to war for a variety of reasons. Were they defending their homes and families from invasion? Yes, but they also believed that preserving slavery was in the Confederacy's best interest. It was widely believed that emancipation would lead to servile insurrection, basically a race war. Did you know that volunteers in the Army of Northern Virginia were about 40% more likely to own slaves than the rest of the Southern population? Don't you think that's a little bit telling?
President Lincoln. President Lincoln, in his first inaugural, by that time 8 states had seceded from the Union. And Lincoln had a promise for them. He said, I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery where it currently exists.
We're not talking about President Lincoln. We're talking about your great-grandpappy, the average Confederate soldier. Here's a quote. This is Confederate cavalryman Frank Myers, registering his oath of allegiance to the Union in 1867. This is directly from his diary. Registered. That means swore to be a liar, fool, villain, and ain't white anymore, ain't honest anymore. And registered as loyal to the United States, and no honest, honorable, sensible, decent white man can be that. It's a common theme that you see in the writings of surrendering Confederates. They felt like they weren't white anymore.
Look up the moral tariff.
Late in the war, when Confederates were debating amongst themselves whether to enlist slaves in the army, Private Joseph Maids wrote, I did not volunteer my services to fight for a free Negro's free country, but for a free man's free country. And I do not think I love my country well enough to fight with black soldiers.
Well, what about them northern states? What about the northern
That
states?
sounds like someone who's very concerned with states' rights, don't you think? Here's another one. This is from General James Longstreet, talking to his men after General Benjamin Butler refused to return fugitive slaves to Southern masters. Here's what he has to say.
I don't want to hear.
Already has the hatred of one of their great leaders attempted to make the Negro your equal by declaring his freedom. They care not for the blood of babes, nor carnage of innocent women, which servile insurrection thus stirred up may bring upon their heads. Imagine how silly former Confederates must have felt after the 13th Amendment was passed and that didn't happen. It was a doomsday prophecy that just didn't come true. So, of course, they had to undergo all sorts of mental gymnastics to prove that the last 4 years of horrendous violence meant something, anything. So they started convincing themselves that, oh no, we didn't fight just for slavery. I mean, that was just a tiny little part of this bigger issue of states' rights that's gone all the way back to the founding of the country. But even this lie doesn't jive with the political actions of ex-Confederates during Reconstruction, when they fought tooth and nail to stop the progress of civil rights in this country.
Silly Bolshevik tricks like this are amateurish. Why don't you address John Brown or that genocidal maniac Sherman? Why didn't the North just let the South live in peace? Why?
Look, I know it's hard to hear that your great-grandpappy was all in for slave labor. It's a bummer, even taking into account his reasons for believing that, and to him, they were good reasons. You don't want to think of him that way. You want to think of him as this heroic defender of hearth and home, not as an enthusiastic foot soldier in the slaver's army. But the truth is, he was both. He was a complicated, flawed human being, just like you or me. Now all the great-grandpappies are in the ground, and they've been moldering there for more than 100 years. If you could go back in time and meet them, their beliefs would have horrified you. These long-dead racists are not your friends. You have nothing in common with them. What they stood for was evil, and everybody seems to know it, but you.
And until you guys reconcile that fact, you really shouldn't be surprised that you're being criticized.